So the last lab is lab 14. So you're going to start out like we've been doing before. Download the zipped file, drag it into a folder that has your name on it, and then you're going to unzip a copy of that. So I have that, and you'll notice that the lab directions are here, and there's a data folder with a lot of data in it, and then there's another folder that's zipped, so we'll hold on to that for a minute and we'll get to that. There is no map document, so you don't have an MXD, so you're going to have to start a blank one. So I've already started my blank MXD, and I'm going to save it inside this folder so that it's right next to these two, right next to the data folder. So I'm going to go File, maybe, and I'm going to navigate my way all the way into this thing until I see that data folder. So I don't want to go in there, I want to go next to it. And OK. And then there it is, so I know I'm in the right place. And then I want to set the map document properties, make sure I store relative pathways. Okay, so I've got my data set up, and then I think the directions ask you to unzip the school layer. So we're going to unzip that, and that just has one shapefile with some school locations in it. So we're going to leave it separate for now. And then I think it asks you to add some data. So you're going to add, might need to connect to the folder. Mine is on my desktop, Sanger Lab, OK. And then if I close here, it says to add what's called an LC schools. So that's, no it doesn't, it says LCOG roads. So there's the road file. And I'm also going to add census data. And these are big files. Census, and I think this might be for the whole, no, it's just for Lane County, good. And then I'm going to add that school location, and that's in another folder, so I'm going to have to back up. Oh, I think I was supposed to add water, but I can do that in a minute. School location, and that's for the whole state, and I also am supposed to add a water layer. Okay, so I have got 4 layers. If I list by source, I can see that one layer is coming from a folder that's different. So that's coming from the school folders. The rest of them are coming from the data folder. So one of the things that's going to be really important is keeping a data log of your process. So you're going to start a process summary sheet. And what you're going to do with that is every time you do something to a data layer, you're going to record what your inputs were and what your output is, so that you can recreate that if you need to. So for example, at some point you're going to select data from the school locations, and you're going to export it with a different name and then select from that something else. So we'll go through that process in a minute. So I wanted you to look at the different, the spatial extent of the different data sets. I can put on a base map here to help you understand that we've got kind of 2 different spatial extents showing up, and sometimes the base maps are a little slow to add. Oh, I'm just going to add a street layer here. Okay. So the first thing I want you to do is to look at the attribute table for the school location. So I'm going to right click schools, go into the attribute table. Actually, this thing really makes, I tend to leave these off when I'm working because they just slow the whole process down. Okay, so we're going to go into attribute table, and I said in the very back, or the very last field, there is a field called type 1, 2, and 3. And I want you to explore 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Explore these different numbers and see what they seem to be related to. They kind of relate to a school type. Okay, so then I'm going to ask you to add the Lane County Shapefile, which is just a background file, but you don't really need to do that. So your first selection is going to be select by location, and you want to select all the schools that are just in Lane County. So I'm going to turn this off, and I'm going to leave the Lane County census on. If the schools had a county field, I could select by county, but they don't. All they have is a state field. I don't have any county field. So I want just the Lane County schools, so we have to select in a different way. So I'm going to go up here and go select by location, not select by attribute. And I want to select the schools that are within Lane County. So the source that I want is not showing up. Which is why I needed to add Lane County. So I'm going to see if it'll let me add that. Yes, there we go. There's Lane County. So now I want to add the schools that are in Lane County. Okay, I'm not going to apply a search. I just want them all to be target the layers that are, let's see, and I don't want touch. I think I'm just going to leave, let's see. Nice thing is we can just play with this. So there, oh, look at that. So I selected the features that were within Lane County. So I select by locations, intersect the source layer. Okay, so this is my source, Lane County, and I said which features intersect my source layer. Now, what I want to do is create a subset of this data. So I'm going to look at the attribute table, and I have, oops, wrong, I have the schools, sorry. So there are 103 schools selected that are in my feature data set, and I don't want all 1,000 schools. I just want this 103 schools. So if I right-click schools and go to data, I can export the data, and I need to navigate into my data folder, and I need to make sure that I am inside that data folder, and I'm going to create a shapefile. And the way I'm going to know I'm in the right place is I'm going to see the other shape files. And I'm going to call this Lane County Schools. So on my process summary, I would have written that I selected by location the school locations that were in Lane County, and I exported them. And I called them Lane County Schools. So you can see that it added that new feature class up in the right folder, and my school locations are still selected, so I'm going to unselect those, and I'm going to turn those off. And now I have just the schools that are in Lane County, and I no longer need this layer, so I'm going to remove that layer to make life a little easier. So that is your first setup and your first data export. And if I go in here, actually let's look at Art Catalog. I'm going to turn on Windows Catalog, and if I open up my data folder, I now see that the Lane County School file that I just created is in there. So I'm in good shape to start.